Hello and welcome everyone to my first episode on YouTube. I have been doing my podcast tour since October. October I did my first tour on TikTok. In September we was at Twitch, and last month we did Podbean, and in December we are doing YouTube. If you look on my account under podcasts, I do have my podcast catalog available for your listening pleasure. And if there is any other topic or any other highlights from the podcast that you listen to, feel free to comment. If you have any other topics or highlighted points in the podcast that you would like for me to give a secondary point of view on, or there can be a collaboration on a particular topic as far as any debates or any um, other points of views that may be related to that topic. My podcast tour for YouTube is streamed over the course of 3 different Wednesdays. Um, the last episode is going to be the week before Christmas. So I'm kind of glad December kind of has its way of setting itself up as far as how the weeks are applied, and that gave me just that extra full week to handle everything before we end 2025. So we're going to be going over 3 different podcasts for tonight. One of the podcasts is Overcoming Biasness. Another is Do Not Dismiss Your Story. And the last one is, sorry, I didn't write it down, Growing into Your Purpose. So when we are speaking on overcoming biasness, whenever I reflect over that, just that topic, I think of sabotage. In some instances, we use our biasness as a way to cop out of a role that we wholeheartedly desire to have, but we tend to give our flaws a pretty heavy hand in how we handle our situations, and that's when we find ourselves kind of backing out of opportunities simply because of that. So, not letting your past define your personal growth is absolutely important, because you wouldn't run into any type of survival's imposter syndrome, which does bring survivor's remorse, um, simply because of having that idea that being in a role that is going to contribute to your personal growth is absolutely important, because being in that situation is going to shape you into the person that you want to be for the role that you are currently pursuing. Never letting negative responses delay your goals. A lot of negative responses, you can turn that into insight and self reflection. In most cases, it could be trajectory, and in most cases, it could be someone on the outside looking in, simply because they don't know. Um, they didn't tell you anything, though, doesn't mean that you don't know, um, or have any idea of what the role or what the position consists of. There's always reading points and talking points as far as that discussion, but when you're pretty much hands on like me, I I have a tendency to do as much as I can on my own, and if I just so happen to hit a brick wall, or if I just so happen to uh, be at a fork in the road and I have like two different ways to go about something, I always go and look for a second and third opinion, just to kind of see what the option would be if I chose A over B, the longevity, how I can maneuver that into something else or another level of content or another level of opportunity that I could give to someone else. So I always look for those dynamics. So there's always going to be a pivot in your pathway when it comes to pursuing your designation or your goal. So, not necessarily taking negative responses personally, but also taking them as insight. Maybe there's something that I am doing wrong. Maybe I know what I'm doing, but the performance of the criteria isn't pleasing to the outside eye. But when you do have your reasons and when you do have your purpose in doing those performances, even based off of what you've learned on your own or what was taught to you, you're always going to have those bases to cover your tracks as far as your performance. So the negative responses, it's pretty much just a tab for you to do some self reflection. And when you go back to the the task that was previously critiqued, more so than likely you'll have a better outcome. And it could be triggering as far as the biasness. Maybe, it's just something that people are just used to and they're doing it a different way, or you found a better way to go about serving a task, and it may look wrong to other people, but your best interest is in the sake of getting the task done. So it could be a number of things, but how you perceive them and how you apply them to yourself is what's actually important. Not allowing no to be the final answer. No is never, as far as pursuing roles for personal growth and leadership. No is never permanent. It's always not yet or not the right time. Um, it could be in the beginning stages of your personal growth, and in the beginning stages, we never have all of the answers as far as what this road is going to take us, what obstacles is going to be waiting, what is going to test us to see if this is something that we are going to be stuck in a long haul for. So, no can be a blessing and a curse simply because no could mean, well, we know that you are perfect for this position, but we feel as though you need more training, or this position is too small for you, or this position isn't, you know, this position isn't in the criteria that you're probably looking for, and that could be absolutely fine. There can be 100 different ways for people to maneuver and pivot. Their journey is all the same, but alongside of your journey and personal development, there are for the lack of a better term, there are side quests that are important, and the side quests alongside the journey of personal development could help you pick up on some things, whether it's from someone who has been doing what your designation is for a number of years or a number of decades. It could be a task that could help you really strategize how to move about your different agendas that you have in place for yourself, and as well as allowing other people to help you along the way, having mentors, having counsels, having a group of individuals that are pursuing the same things that you are pursuing. So, majority of the time, a no could not be placed on that exact task, but there are a million ways to do one thing, and more than likely, what your no is to that task is probably more important than receiving a yes and feeling like you're sabotaging something simply because you're pursuing one thing. It's something that I've always said. A baseball game looks absolutely fun, but it's hard work if you're actually on the field. So a lot of people do get saved from a lot of no's simply because those people actually have a eye and an ear for the expectations of the cycle of what they expect from whatever position or whatever designation that you are pursuing. So there could be more work that needs to be done in your personal growth if you're pursuing a leadership role that could put you a little bit further towards the favoritism of your designation that you are pursuing. Search for the good and outweigh the bad. That is absolutely important because all small wins are absolutely important. All small wins allow you to really understand that there is a pace that is going on. There is some sort of acknowledgement and some sort of footwork that is being placed. So when you are outweighing the bad, it could be a good thing for something bad to happen along the way because that also is what helps you strategize when you are on this journey. So, and the mix of that overcoming biasness is not necessarily applied. This topic isn't necessarily applied in trajectory, but also insight. Um, Not allowing no to stop you, not allowing negative responses to make you give up, not letting your past define your personal growth because there's always room for improvement. Distractions is another topic under overcoming biasness simply because we are very much victim to distractions as far as social media and having friends around and everything that could be a distraction is more easily accessible than anything else. So, when you're using your time wisely, a lot of people turn their phones on Do Not Disturb. They go into a different environment. They sit in the park, or they go by the lake, or they go to a coffee shop somewhere where it's cozy. And they really lock in, they really have tunnel vision and making sure that they are really putting in the time that they need to put in order to allow the growth of their work and their development to really have something established when you do go on social media. Believing in your work is another thing simply because there's always a reason why you started. It has to be a personal reason on why you start your personal growth or pursuing your role in leadership simply because you're not only thinking about yourself, but you're thinking about a bigger picture. I always tell people you never know what's supposed to be in your picture if you always keep it in a small frame. Simply because you do believe that there is more to your pursuit than actually reaching a goal. It should be a livelihood of pursuing personal growth. It should be a daily task to look forward to having the next best thing ready to conquer, and whatever anxiety and whatever flaws that you feel like it's going to stop you that day, you won't even think about it. Simply because you do believe in the work that you put in to put yourself in a position to become a better person. And every day that you show up for yourself, it does count for the better. Concentrating on your goals is pretty much you keeping yourself up to date on why you started. Simply because we do speak to different people day in and day out, and everyone have a different story when it comes to their personal growth and their upbringing, and how they was able to strategize and maneuver through different events in their life, and they actually made it out to the other side. And a lot of people's story was more intense than the other, and that to me shows resilience, that you are actually that confident in yourself and know that you are that confident in yourself to be in a position of becoming a better version of yourself, and knowing that you don't have to stay the same. Networking with people to suit further interests is absolutely important. Dating back into um, the previous topic, um, really surrounding yourself with people who are in a group setting that is like minded, who is working on similar things that you are personally pursuing, who has overcome the things that you are currently experiencing, and those are the people who has a story or who has a level of advice to show resilience and to be consistent in understanding that there is always better waiting on you. You just have to do your best at your current state. So, networking with people keeps your mind focused on your task. That's the best distraction that you can have, is other people to remind you of keeping up the good work and keep pushing forward, and the encouragement. Those are good distractions. Distractions can be good or bad, but those are good distractions when you have people on your team and you have people on your side that sees the consistency and sees the growth that you are developing, and they pretty much keep you at a steady flow to make sure you don't run off course. Transparency. Transparency is absolutely important in overcoming bias. It is simple because you are not allowing yourself to hide behind your flaws and give your flaws the front row seat to any decisions that you make for yourself. Simply because your flaws are your milestones, it allows you to really put forth the effort to drive drive your flaws into a strength, and understanding that there's a weakness behind that, and you are battling through and you are pushing through what your flaws may be, and it can become your new strength. That was all the topics for overcoming biasness. We are moving forward to do not dismiss your story. Imagine how unique you are. Imagine reading a book that is telling your exact life story, all of the flaws, all of the ups, all of the downs, all of the betrayal, all of the confusion, and whatever comes with it. And there's a point within the book that gives you advice, that gives you a story of resilience, that gives you ambition, that gives you encouragement that anyone can be anyone can be great in their story. Anyone can be the main character of their story. You just have to understand what your story plot is, and I think that's absolutely amazing. The reason why I started podcasting is because I believe everyone's story deserves a voice. I do understand that a lot of people are living different lives through different points of views, and there are people who are past, and there are some people who are approaching different circumstances and situations that they don't have the answer to. But there could be someone out there that has gone through those same motions and have begun the work course to maneuver themselves through those circumstances and situations. And I think that could be helpful and inspiring to people who are experiencing the same. Your untold story can inspire other people simply because there's a lot of people out here that are looking for answers that they don't know the question to. So I always encourage people to post and be consistent in your personal growth simply because you are going to inspire someone one day. Whether it's a small task or whether it's a big task, your story is going to always be the highlight of someone's day. Your triumph is a testimony simply because you can teach someone how to strategize and be resilient in any circumstances that they are in, simply because not giving up is never an option. It's never an option, especially when you have been consistent in your own journey. So, not allowing bad things to override the entire agenda is very important. Never dismiss how you feel is very, very important simply because you are not giving yourself enough credit to fulfill every flaw that you have personally, figuratively, simply because you are not expressing how you feel wholeheartedly. That is a part of personal growth, is being able to express yourself. A lot of times we are really stagnant in telling people how we feel because we don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, or we don't want anyone to get mad, or we don't want to lose their friendship. But not speaking up on how you feel is going to continue to allow that disrespect. And simply because of that, you have to make sure that you have every opportunity to say how you feel, and you have to stand on it no matter what the reaction is. Overturning your stones. The uncomfortable topics are breakthroughs. Uncomfortable topics can be triggering. Uncomfortable topics can um, uncomfortable topics can be traumatic, and a lot of times people sweep those talking points under the rug simply because they don't want to relive those factors, and that is completely okay. That is a that is a safety cope that a lot of people do have, simply because a lot of people's livelihood are overwhelming. However, that is means for a breakthrough. When you are facing those uncomfortable discussions and those uncomfortable topics, and you allow them to hurt you, you allow them to traumatize you, but you are allowing it to happen. It's different from dodging from the topic, but when you allow it to happen, when you allow yourself to sit in those topics, you're allowing yourself to heal within that topic, simply because you won't be triggered from it, simply because you allowed it to set face into whatever the circumstances are. So when you do give yourself that open opportunity to have those uncomfortable conversations, that is the number one way to start your healing journey and your personal growth. Whatever is hidden won't be healed. Um, Simply because when we are on our personal growth, we do have the pursuit of becoming our best selves. And we can't be our best selves if we are still hiding behind something. We can't be our best selves if we are constantly maneuvering forward and still holding things back. That's the complete opposite of personal growth. We have to grow past things that make us uncomfortable. We have to grow past things that we don't want to show into light, simply because it may make us seem some type of way, or it may not come out the right way to other people, and people may have a different perception of you, and that's absolutely okay. You are the author of your book, not the reader. You understand why you had to go through those circumstances. You understand what it took to live past that, or to grow past that, and you actually did the work to grow past it. Now all you have to do is succeed after that. Challenges can expose a new era. It really can. Simply because along a personal growth journey, we tend to get comfortable, and we tend to just take everything as is. We tend to just put everything on autopilot, and we make ourselves shrink into this factor of um, not allowing new things to enter. So when new things do enter our lives, it does become a challenge. It is overwhelming. It is off putting, simply because it's something that wasn't expected, or something that wasn't planned. And that's absolutely okay. That's the opportunity to pivot and strategize your pathway, and understanding things may not always be the same, but if things do change, how are you able to adapt? And that's really important in growth. Bringing clarity into your decisions, being consistent is very important, but being consistent without a designation is very scary, simply because you may find yourself circling a a particular perspective, instead of allowing yourself to understand why that is. Having clarity in your decisions helps you to understand not only what you are doing or what you have to do, but why you are doing this. What is this going to lead up to? What is the end game? And there's never necessarily an end game, but there's always a goal. So as long as you understand what your goal is, and even if you're just starting and you don't know where it's going, that's better than that's better than sitting on your story and not doing anything with it, when that could be something that is very much needed. Apply apply your thoughts into actions. It's like, well, what I've said previously. It's more so of being in this safe bubble that people develop for themselves, before they put themselves in a new norm, if that makes sense. So when you do have the opportunity to, um, apply whatever your thoughts were, whatever your goals were, and you have an opportunity to put that into action, to be performative, to be part of an organization or a society of people who share the same interests, and you get to exercise that. That's just like going to school and you go on externship or you go on internship to be performative and applying what you've learned, applying what previous experiences you may have, and that could be something that can be one of those good distractions that you won't have to sit so much with your thoughts all day, that you actually have something to do footwork and hands on activities with. So, becoming, documenting your growth, um, as far as personal growth and pursuing leadership roles, I absolutely agree with documenting your work, documenting your journey, because when you look back over those posts and over those, writings, and you really see how consistent you've been, and you actually start seeing changes within yourself, and you actually start seeing the growth that you've actually been pursuing, it's kind of hard to turn away from that, simply because it could, or it has grown into something amazing, and it's only a matter of time before it just starts getting better. So, staying busy with goals. If you are going to do something amazing. If you're going to allow yourself to be distracted, distract yourself with something that's going to put yourself at another level. If you're going to go into a different environment, go to an environment that is adjacent to where you want to be, and just really focus on what the routines are, what the people are doing, and actually visualize yourself in those same vicinities doing the same thing. If you can't picture yourself in those environments, then you are probably on the wrong path. Just saying. Moving and building new spaces. That could be one and the same. You can build new spaces as far as building a community with a different interest, or you could be moving as far as meeting new people, going to different establishments and shaking hands and um, taking on other tasks and taking on other interests that you may have that could complement what your current situation is, and actually build that into a routine to where it becomes consistent and second nature. Marking your sanctions, understanding your mark, and understanding how to put a pin in where you are. And that could be one or two things. Either you're putting a pin in, what you need to work on, or you're putting a pin in what you've actually was able to achieve, what you was actually able to overcome, what doesn't trigger you anymore. Someone said something and I didn't even feel a way about it, but had they said that 10, 15 years ago, I would have been on the floor crying. So you're making your mark. You are marking your sanction, as far as this is the day that A, B, C, and D no longer triggers me. This is the day that I'm walking into my strength and I'm not letting anything upset me. And that is an amazing part of understanding your personal growth. For our last episode, topic that we will be talking about on our podcast tour will be growing into your purpose. Exercising your interests is one of the talking points of this podcast. Exercising your interests, I always tell people um, to do whatever you have an interest in, and if you have multiple interests, it it doesn't mean that you don't know what to do. You just haven't found your passion yet. And growing into your purpose is also understanding what your passion is. Your purpose is something that speaks to you without acknowledgement, without acknowledgement or without being provoked. It's something that you do on a regular basis. It's something that you do by default, and it's an amazing thing when you get to take a natural talent that is an interest to you, and not only do you apply it to other things, into other categories, but it also helps other people. It also gave insight to other people that they have someone that has a similar interest with them, and that can be a small part in building your community, as well as networking being important, given the opportunity to allow people with similar interests as you to communicate their ideas and their concept of what their exercise is, if hearing the different points of views of people's journey and how they was able to overcome different situations, it can definitely be inspiring, and it can also build a bond between you and other people that you meet. Accepting challenges is important because it helps you strategize your strength. Accepting challenges is another side quest for you to find a different strength, or to understand that you have a weakness that you didn't know that you had. So, being able to be consistent in your personal growth can put you in a very good place mentally, to where you'll just feel unstoppable and that you can pretty much do anything that you set your mind to, simply because you've done the work necessary to achieve that goal.